Today joining me is John Sheehan. He is the recipient of the MC Hedrick Award. You see him all over town. He is the poster child for business and entrepreneur, and I've never met him except 5 minutes ago. It's going to be great. So, John, I don't think we have ever met officially.
No, we have not.
Not even unofficially.
I don't believe so.
Me and you have got something in common. We're both juniors.
Okay.
What was your dad?
My dad was a dentist, and I grew up in Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas.
Yep.
Was what kind of dentistry did you do?
He just was a general practitioner. Both my folks were originally from Chicago, and they right soon after they got married, that my dad was in the service, which was the reason why I was born in France, and I was there for just a short period of time. They came back to Chicago. My mom's dad was also a dentist, and he worked for his father-in-law for about a year, and then he realized he wanted to do his own thing. And he didn't like the cold weather, so he had explored during spring breaks when he was in college, just the South, and he decided that Houston, Texas was far enough south that probably wouldn't get any snow and be warm and be a fresh place to start in what was a growing town back in 1960.
So how come you didn't go into the dentistry?
Well, I'm probably academically, books weren't probably enough to do the sciences, but my dad kind of always said I was the first male in 3 generations that was not a doctor, physician, or dentist. Obviously all my uncles were, both grandfathers. My dad said, we make a good living, but the only way I make money is if I'm here. If I go on vacation, I don't make any money. You need to find a job that you can go take vacations, other people do the work for you, and be more of a businessman. And I think you'll be happier from a financial perspective. And I was always kind of hardworking as a young kid, had a yard business and worked at the grocery store. I was kind of driven, and I followed that advice and got my degree in accounting, and later got a master's in taxation, and just put it to work.
Boy, taxation, that's a complicated thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I practiced in the tax department of a Big 8 accounting firm for a few years, and really didn't like being cooped up like that. And but it gave me a good base, a good foundation to understand a lot of business principles, which helped me and has continued to help me today.
Did you ever know Austin Stevenson?
I think did he work for Ralph Buckner at one time?
No.
Different person.
He owned multiple rental units.
No.
And hadn't been dead too long.
No, I don't know.
On the
But,
courthouse
he was in the
square at
construction
30
and rental
2nd
business
Street
and
is the
development
law
business,
firm
and I
of
was
Logan
at Cleveland
Thompson
Plywood one
Law.
morning, and
Since
he never did talk. He
1965,
just
they have
would
served
sit
the
there.
legal needs for
And
the good
he was
citizens
kind of
of
hard to
Cleveland
talk to,
Bradley
really.
County.
And one
If
morning
you've got
I
a
said,
problem, there's no
Austin,
problem.
give me some
Give 'em a
advice
call.
for a 22-year-old. He said, I'll give you some advice. He must have had it on the top of his head. And he said, learn your taxes. He said, it's your silent partner. And boy, he was right. So many businesses fail because they just don't understand tax repercussions, do they?
They don't pay their taxes too. A lot of people don't realize they have that obligation.
But I mean, you can get out of some by deferment and deductions and stuff like that. I mean, it's all very important.
Yeah, I think people who are self-employed, especially maybe on the real estate side, they can take advantage of that more than, say, a traditional person. I mean, I was W-2'd for a long time before, I went to work for myself in 2008. And fortunately for me, I've not seen the IRS in 35 years. Like I said, I've just never had to be I don't even say business receipts because I don't take I don't write off lunches and dinners and that sort of thing. It's just something that I just haven't done. So, but I pay my taxes, and obviously, IRS must think so. They'd leave me alone. So, I do my fair share.
I got audited by the IRS. It was really bad, and they ended up owing me I got a refund after the audit. So I felt good. Hopefully they won't be back to me. Now you worked for, you came here, what brought you to Cleveland, Tennessee?
So back from 87 to 90, I worked for a company in Dallas that had some business dealings with Forrest, and Forrest came in quarterly to go over the performance of various private and public limited partnerships. My employer in Dallas was the general partner, and so I had interaction with Forrest, and he had actually tried to hire me for darn near 2 years, I guess, and eventually I accepted. So I'd meet frequently with, when Forrest would come up, he brought Chuck Jabley and Fred Lester and John O'Brien and Bill Fry and his whole team, and then eventually I felt comfortable enough to come to take a look at Cleveland, and I was head of finance for Forrest for about 5.5 years when I moved here, and started in April of 90 and left in January of 96. So I was there about 5.5 years.
Did you go into business for yourself at that point?
No, I went to work for one of Forrest's lenders, a real estate investment trust out of Newport Beach, California, called Nationwide Health Properties. And I stayed with them for 13.5 years. I was allowed to live in Cleveland, but I traveled literally all the time. And I think I've been in every state of the United States, predominantly because of working for that company. But I didn't go to work for myself until 2008. And I've been doing my own thing since then.
Well, it was a bad year to go out on your own, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess it was. Of course, my business was, well, actually, let me back up. While I was at Nationwide, I also took it upon myself. I formed a not-for-profit company called the Coe Foundation. And I saw an opportunity that I could possibly grow a not-for-profit using nursing home assets. And so I kind of had started that company, and it was kind of really a blessing. I had a friend who wanted to sell 4 homes, and the people wanted to buy only wanted to buy 3 of the 4, would give him the same prices that he had agreed to for all 4. And he goes, what am I supposed to do with this? And I said, well, you ought to give that 4th home to a not-for-profit and get a tax deduction at least. So he gave it to me and to a Coe Foundation, and that was in 2003, and that home was in Jackson, Tennessee. And interestingly enough, I had an act of God, and the home struggled, and I found a very hungry operator just starting out. A friend of mine used to be at Life Care, and I gave him $250,000, and I said, see if you can make this thing work. And he was able to get it to work. And then 2 years later, if you remember the Jackson, Tennessee tornado, or 2005, it destroyed the nursing home. Fortunately, nobody was hurt. It literally lifted the roof off of the building and put it back down and essentially totaled the building. Make long story short, I got a nice insurance settlement, and that's what I used to grow Coe. And that was really the real seed capital that I could go off and do that. And so in 2008, when I left Nationwide, I bought my first nursing home with a Coe, without using some of the money from the insurance proceeds. And that was 15 years ago, and soon to be 16, I guess. And we have, today we have 11 facilities, 10 in Tennessee, 1 in Wisconsin. And then, of course, I also personally grew my nursing home business, and so I've owned several others outside of a Coe that I still own today. So I have sold some as well, but I still have several that I own personally. And that's been my main business since I went to work for myself.
Is that hard to run a nursing home?
For the executive director and everybody that works there, it's a tough job. You know, next to the nuclear power industry, the nursing home industry is the most regulated industry in the country.
Is that right?
You have state regulators, you got federal regulators,
City?
city,
I guess.
county. I mean, you know, you're overlooked by everybody, and
Health department?
exactly. So it's a tough job, and it was really, really, really tough during COVID. It's just thankless, and it's just I give credit to my people. I could never do the job. I mean, the responsibility on the shoulders of each of our leaders at those facilities is tremendous. I mean, they've got anywhere from 60 to 150 employees that report to them, and it's a tough job.
They ever make decisions that you wouldn't have made, but you assume that they're thinking through it and that you're going to go with their decision because you're not there or something?
You know, I don't ever really question any kind of operational decisions. I have a management company that I own with a proven leader. Clint Davis is my CEO at Twin Rivers, and he was actually a former life care executive. He ran about half the nursing homes for Forrest back in the day, and went off, and eventually I hired him, and he became my partner in the management company. But Clint is solid. He knows the business. We've been very, very blessed. We have an incredibly high retention rate. You know, of my 11 ACOE facilities, 9 of the 11 leaders are still with me from the day we started.
That's incredible.
And that goes back a long ways. That says a lot about our leadership, our training, and our ability to keep good people. And then, of course, at a survey level, our star rating is what CMS Medicare kind of rates you on. 1 is the lowest, 5 is the highest. As a company, we average more than a 4 stars. So I can't call into question Clint's leadership based on his results.
No.
And it's not my place. I mean, I'm really more of a finance person. I'm a deal guy, and I know how to. I understand the business. I understand how to finance the business, but I can't run the business. I have to rely on other people for that, and that's why I've chosen Clint to lead that effort for us.
That's a lot of confidence in him.
He's been doing it for 35 years, and people like him, and has proven results, and he lives here in Cleveland as well. So it's a good fit. We're same age, and common interests, values, and that sort of thing.
When you have somebody like that, do you just feel a kindred spirit with them?
Yeah, well, we like I said, we've known each other for a long time. There was a period of time that we were both gone from life care, and then we kind of reconnected. But we think alike, and we do what's right for our staff and for our residents. And so, when we're in line. When you're in line like that, you're going to work. So many people in this business, and you hear about people not, whether they don't give quality of food or staff them properly. So many people are in the business because they think, oh, it's a business, you can make lots of money, but they forget who they got to take care of. And you got to take care of the people, and you got to take care of your employees. And you still need to make money, but there's the right way and there's the wrong way, and there's a lot of people that do it the wrong way.
Do you think if you do all those things, the money will come? Or is there sometimes it won't come even if you do the right thing?
I believe in reinvesting in people and reinvesting in our business. So, Coey's case, I had the tip, in the last 9 years, 7, 15, in the last 9 years, in my 11 buildings, I've reinvested $29 million. And in several of those buildings, I bought them, they were busted. They were upside down. And they were all loose. And a lot of the facilities I bought weren't doing well. And I've come in, Clint's provided good leadership, good training for the staff. And then I've come in and handled all of the renovations and improvements. Now, within that $29 million, 2 brand new buildings. One was a replacement of another, but 15 of that $29 million was just upgrading the facilities and bringing them back to where they should be. And so, Yeah, I believe if you build it, they will come. And every market that I do business, I'm the facility of choice, and there's a reason for that, based on what I just said.
It's not because you're after the money, it's because you're after those things,
Right.
taking care of employees, giving them a good place to work, and
I mean, I didn't have to spend all that money. I could have just kept it, I guess, kept it in the bank.
let it dry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, now, but again, these are, I'm talking about in my not-for-profit, and I don't personally keep in mind, I don't own the not-for-profit. If the not-for-profit makes it $10, I don't put $10 in my pocket. It stays in the not-for-profit. So we reinvest our money. And just like we reinvest in our community, we have, right now we give, starting in 2024, we're going to give $25,000 scholarships to deserving high school students, from 6 here in Bradley County, 2 in Blount County, and 2 in Sweetwater, to blank it up for the county name. But so, and we're going to grow that. So we've held off being able to do that because we've invested so much money in our facilities. Now we're doing well enough, paid down our debt. So we're further reinvesting in the youth and of these communities. And in order to get that scholarship, they have to enter the healthcare field. So we continually reinvest in, as I said, reinvest in people.
You think that's good karma?
I do. I mean, people are gonna laugh when I say this, but it feels a lot better to give money away than make money. And you can make a difference in people's lives by taking what the luck, the hard work, whatever you want to call it, the blessings that I've had, and I can help somebody else out. Makes me feel really good.
And do you ever stop and think, what did I start all this for? In the very beginning, did I start out to be a good employee? Did I start out to be independent or free, or did I start out to help people, or did I just want to stay out of the factories?
You mean me?
Yeah. What was the real?
For a COA, you mean?
No, just for you personally. What was you? What in the beginning? What was the end game? Does that make sense?
It's a great question.
Not sure if I could even say it.
Yeah. I wanted to have a career that I enjoyed. I was successful in the sense that I could provide for my family well, and maybe do better than my dad did, and kind of a goal. Then I've been able to do all of that. The not-for-profit thing has really grown to something I never envisioned it being where it is today, considering where I was in 2000 with nothing, essentially, till 2023, and making a big difference in a lot of people's lives. That's a good thing.
Do you see it as sort of a ministry in a sense?
I don't quite feel that's a strong word. It kind of is, I guess. I'm a hard worker. I enjoy working. I enjoyed the art of the deal, and the side benefits are the things that we're talking about as far as doing the right thing, providing the right care, and giving back. So it kind of all comes together, and I'm just in a blessed place. I'm just really pretty happy. Most people my age should be slowing down and retiring. I think I'm as busy as I've ever been, just because of all my interests outside of my primary business has allowed me to do some other things, not only for myself personally, but for this community. I've done other things that have touched a lot of people, and hopefully will continue to do so.
Well, you've been here, 34 years? Is that right?
It's going to be 34 years in April, yep. Mm-hmm.
Boy, it's a great place to live, isn't it? Cleveland, Tennessee.
A lot of great people. Good work ethic. People respect one another, and will do anything. I have so many of my friends will do anything for
Now,
you.
you've been in every state in the United States. You really believe that Cleveland, Tennessee is as good a place as you can live?
I, you know, I can honestly say that every state that I've been in, I found a part of that state I could probably be comfortable with. I mean, whether it's just the natural beauty or the people. I mean, everywhere I've gone, I found places that I could be comfortable with. But I think, you know, this community to me is as good as anything I've ever been around. My wife's dad was an executive with Chevron in the oil business, and they lived all over the world. I mean, she lived in San Francisco, Houston, New Orleans several times, the Bahamas, and you know, it was kind of funny when about 6 years ago, I said I needed to move into a house that's one level that I can stay for the rest of my life. I said, we can live anywhere you want to go. I mean, wherever you want to go. You want to go back to Texas where our family was, or any place you visit that you think is great or might be better. And she goes, no, this is my home, and this is where I want to stay, and we're not leaving. You know, when she came kind of kicking and screaming, a big city girl coming from Dallas, and she was, when we first visited, I'll never forget, she's going through the town, and it's like, this is a pretty place. I said, nice place to hang out for a couple of years, and we'll go back to Texas, you know. Because when I left, things were kind of before the '08, that last recession was, you know, kind of in that 1985 to 87, and then it lingered on. Mm-hmm. And Texas had it hit harder because they had the S&L and real estate collapse was a harder hit there than a lot of other states in the country. So we felt that. So we left Texas when things were kind of gloomy, and looked like this might be a good opportunity, and it turned out to be so.
It was Forrest Preston that brought you here.
Yep.
If it wasn't for that,
right, I wouldn't have come. I wouldn't have had a reason to. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wasn't in. I was in the specific industry at the time. Yeah.
What's interesting to me is you recently opened Inman Social, mm-hmm. which I ate there last night. I got to go. Boy, that spaghetti was good. It was different than any other spaghetti. It could have fed two people.
The spaghetti and meatball.
Spaghetti and meatball. Yeah, it was like this big.
Yeah.
I'm still full.
Wesley True's an outstanding chef, and
I don't know him.
Good guy. He's CIA trained. Worked in Michelin star restaurants in New York City. He's been in a lot of big restaurants in Atlanta and down there. Orange Beach, Perdido Key area.
So what was the motivation behind that? Because isn't that restaurant business is like the biggest failing end? Is that, you know, it's like what's the old saying? Most restaurants don't make it.
Yeah, as they say that non-chain restaurants. I read a stat said in 1 year, 50% will fail. First year of the 50% that are left, 30% will fail the second year, and then of what's left there, another 20% will fail. So by the time it's all said and done, the mom and pop operator, less than 15% are in business after 3 years.
It'd be hard for a bank to loan money on that, wouldn't it? Just looking at the statistics.
It is. I didn't get into the restaurant business because I wanted to make. I don't want to lose money. I wanted to preserve not the Bald-Headed Bistro, but I wanted to preserve a quality venue, which it was, which I just made better. And I'm somewhat of a foodie, and I like good food. And Cleveland needed something else, and so I did it because I wanted it for Cleveland, and I'm not doing it because I'm going to live out of it, because I don't expect to live out of it, don't need to live out of it.
How do you describe a foodie? Because there's a lot of definitions of a foodie.
Well, I like nice food. I like nice restaurants, nice wine. Um, I'm not a fast food person.
But you take Anthony Bourdain. He was not he was a foodie, right?
Right.
But he wouldn't necessarily eat at nice restaurants. He'd eat at,
Oh, that's true.
I mean, it was,
Exactly.
so a foodie can,
Oh yeah. I love food trucks. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, Nella's Tacos.
Well, they're good, aren't they?
Carnacia
I was over there by there Saturday.
I like more ethnic food than probably most people.
Do you just like the experience? Is it the experience? Is it a foodie? Because a lot of people say I'm a foodie and they think it's just fancy food, but it's not necessarily.
Flavor. What's in it? You know, I like Indian food. We have Cleveland naan is good. I mean,
We're at.
it's
Oh, you mean
here in Cleveland. It used to be the old
Nani's?
Cleveland naan. I thought it was the old
I've eaten-
Quiznos Sunshine.
Yeah, I've eaten there.
Yeah.
I think it's Nans.
Cleveland naan.
Yeah.
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 Like
I
naan
like
bread.
it.
Yeah.
It-
So I just like different. I just like different food. I mean, I don't don't really go to steak places. I mean, I've been to steak places, but I'd rather go to a good Thai or good Italian restaurant than go and have a big steak at Ruth Chris or something like that. I mean, my wife doesn't eat red meat to begin with, so that doesn't help me out if we're gonna go to a place like that. But we just like to go where, and we like to support local places. There's nothing wrong with going to a chain restaurant, but supporting local is what we should be doing. And hopefully people support him in social.
Yeah. How's it been? When did you open?
It's September 8th was our grand reopening. I bought the restaurant June 1st of 2022. Didn't start the renovations until March of 23. Shut it down completely for about a month.
So you operated as the bistro for
True
or no,
BHB.
True.
It didn't really do much. It didn't change much. Wesley came back. I bought it. Wesley was not here. He had already left and was working for another former restaurateur down in Alabama, and convinced him to come back. It's kind of interesting how that all started was my desire to have some different types of food, and I had started having some discussions with Wesley about doing something together about the time COVID hit, and that just messed everything up. Just sidetracked everything, and so we had to get through that. And so anyway, we got to where we are with M and Social. I have a very good friend of mine who also used to live in Cleveland. He just recently sold out of his nursing home business, but he and his wife, she's an interior decorator, he's an ex-contractor, but his son, very talented chef, they opened a fabulously beautiful restaurant in West Houston, Texas. And he came in as a consultant for me to help me with the design and the layout and the decor. And so I had some help. So it's turned out, I think it's
What's
a
their
beautiful
name?
place. Jake and Sean Halstead. He left in 94, or not 94. He was head of construction for Life Care for 4 years. And then
So he did the interior design too?
his wife did. She helped with it. And he helped with some of the layout and what we decided to do. But the restaurant's been well received. I think our sales are up about 70% above where we were before, and we're still growing. A lot of people still haven't been. But for the most part, I've gotten pretty good reviews.
So you did it because you enjoyed food, you enjoyed the experience.
Yeah.
You wanted to preserve a nice place for Cleveland that was local.
Right. And and how it really kind of got energized to really get kicked off was I was at the country club speaking to an investment club. And I was the guest speaker, and Alan Jones was in attendance, and somebody had said to me, you've done a lot of other things in Cleveland. What's your next venture? What do you want to do? And I said, I'd love to get in the restaurant business and have maybe a couple of good restaurants. And Alan basically said, I know one you might want to buy. And 2 weeks later, he had one of his colleagues give me a call and said, if you're serious, he'll sell it to you. And we made a deal, and that's how I got in it. So I really wasn't knocking on his door looking to get, I mean, I've got some other ideas. I do have another restaurant I wouldn't mind acquiring right now, and I have 2 other concepts I'd like to do, but I want to make sure this one works first, and go to the next one, see if it can work, and so on. So I'm going to be shocked if I don't have at least 2 more restaurants within 3 years. I really believe I'll do it.
Do you ever get burnt out with the stuff like that? I mean, just keeping on plugging. Why aren't you just sitting in the Bahamas somewhere? I mean, what's the point?
Well, right now my son's come to work for me for one thing.
That's a big
Full
point.
time. So, you know, I started Riverstone Wine, Spirits, and Brew. I'm the one that got the law changed. I'm the one that hired the PR firm to get the momentum so we could get the law changed. And of course it passed. Jack majored in entrepreneurship at UT with his master's. And I said, you want to start a new business? Here's a new one. And he did it. Did a great job here. It's still the #1 store by far in town. And now have these other ideas of things to do. I've got several other companies I've started and residential developments I'm doing, and I needed some help. So he's kind of shifting away from the liquor store, and he's coming to help me. And so it's been fun and good to work with Jack, because he brings ideas that I don't have, his generation. And so I'm hoping I can mentor him to some extent. He's involved with the Coe Foundation as well. So I'm enjoying to work with my son. I never had a chance to work with my dad, and I'm enjoying working with my son. And he's stuck around. He could have gone to a big city, but he didn't. So, you know, I'm enjoying that, and I need him. I mean, I need him badly, because I mean, I've got too many things going on. Yet I still want to take lots of trips and see the world. So I'm not here working all the time. I have another home in Florida that I spend a few months of the year, but Margaret and I travel a lot, and I need him to kind of watch my back and make sure everything keeps going forward. And you're going to trust your family more than anybody else.
For sure.
So, and he's a real good kid, and well, he's not a kid; he's a grown man. But
How old is he?
he will turn. I better get this right. He'll be 35 in January. Yeah. So.
Things are different when you're 35, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, I was 35. I've already had a couple of kids. Things are different than.
Yeah.
He's not married. But his world. The generation's different. I mean, they do things differently. But that's pretty common knowledge, I think.
It seems
Different
like
world.
different generations always do stuff differently, don't they?
Yeah, and you don't always disagree with what they do, but they see things differently, and they do things better than what I do. There's a lot of things I couldn't do that he does, and so, you know, you have to have the vision to be able to move forward and change. It's like any business; you can't just do the same old thing. You know, Sears isn't Sears anymore. Sears was,
If you were a dairy farmer and your son couldn't stay in the dairy business, he'd have to have a vision for something else, right?
Right.
So it's always changing, and the dairy farmer didn't know that
Right.
when his son was coming up.
Yeah.
Maybe do you think you enjoy this, just the whole business aspect of it, seeing if you can make it work, seeing if you can overcome the odds? Because you got into a business that has, I guess, the worst odds there is.
Yeah. I'm not planning on losing money, but I'm planning on providing a good product and service for Cleveland for a long time. I want that. Myself, I guess I'm a bit of a deal junkie, but there's another reason why I want to do different businesses. Historically speaking, you know, I've reinvested my money in businesses and real estate, and I've made some money in some of that and monetized that, and I have liquid assets. But historically, I just haven't, like, okay, I'm just going to give it to a stockbroker. The idea, notion of just like giving my money to let somebody else manage it kind of has always bothered me a little bit. I'm comfortable with the people who have it now, but I think that I can do better year after year by investing in businesses or different opportunities that I somewhat can control than giving it to somebody else who could have a good year, bad year the next year, up and down. But you need both, and so.
And you'd have to pay them a fee too, so you can lose the fee, I guess you could say.
But as long as I think that I can make a difference and I see a business that I think I can grow, I enjoy that. If I can make it better.
What makes you think in your mind, I can make this grow? Because I've noticed some business people are good at sort of maintaining their environment, and they can really keep it in good order. And other people seem to be able to manage people, and then other people are good at scaling. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I've been blessed that I've been able to pick partners that have not only that they're good at what they do, but that we've been very successful financially.
Now, when I hear you say you've been good at picking partners, my brain's hearing, I give them a piece of the profits, a piece of the business, and I'm going to be married to this guy or this person for good or bad.
And that's exactly what I do.
And I've seen a lot of those can go sideways.
Well, my batting average is real good right now, and I'd like to keep it that way. I've got several businesses, and everybody that I brought in as a partner has, nobody's left me. They all make significantly more money than they did before they became my partner. And I think they're all pretty happy. And they have everything to lose because they're the minority partner. And as long as they're doing a good job and we're making money, why would you want to lose? You give somebody an opportunity to be an owner in a business and that they get to run and they can do that much better for themselves. I think it's a recipe for success, and I've been lucky that I've been able to pick good people. Hopefully that will continue.
Well, I found that interesting because I had an old mentor. His name was James D. Elmore. He was a good friend of mine. He was a real good business guy. And he used to say, partners are fine. And other people I talk to will say, oh, you don't want any partners, you want to own it yourself, et cetera, et cetera. But I've always found that partners are fine. They both, I guess partners are bad if you're a bad person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, you got to treat people right. I mean, and the reason why, if they'd be the majority if they had the money. They don't have the money, but I have the money to invest and give them the opportunity. And when I bring them in as partners, I'm not asking them to put up any money. I'm taking all the risk. So I think they respect me that I've taken a chance on them and given them the opportunity to grow, which they have, and we're successful. And so
you must be pretty respectable to them and not condescending. Does that make sense? Because that can run it, even though money can not take the place of somebody being condescending.
Yeah, I mean.
So you must not do that.
Well, if it's a business that I don't have a lot of experience in or very little, but I believe in that person because I've seen what they've done professionally and how they've handled themselves, it's difficult for me to be super critical of them if they know how to run the business and I don't. I'll give ideas and my thoughts, and I try to help grow the business, but I leave it up to the CEO, my partner, to run the business, and I expect them to do well. And so, again, so far, we're doing okay.
I had a partner one time that said, Dee, if you break a window, I'm going to pay you half. And I thought that was a good saying. I'm not sure if he meant it literally, but he just meant we're in this together, and we're not going to get mad at each other, basically.
Right. No, like I said, I have not had a reason to part ways with anybody yet. So I don't know how many more I want to do, but and again, my son will hopefully take more of the load going forward too.
Are you able to stand back and look at it from a bird's eye view of all these things you got going and see them twirling like plates? Or are you mostly just kind of focused on one thing at a time?
I'm always focused on the new deal because if the others are up and running, I don't really, outside of occasional conversations or meetings, how are things going, or if there are issues or we have to make a capital investment, I'm not really involved much in any kind of day-to-day. I get monthly financial statements, and if I have a question about something or something's a variance, I'll raise the question, understand it, and just move on. So I don't really, once it's going, I kind of like, okay, it's going, and I'm on to the next deal, and that's where it's like him in social, I was very focused up till September the 8th. Now, it's in Wesley and Bobby True's hands. I've given them the restaurant that they've always wanted, and with their input too. It's up to them to run it. I can't really do anything. I'm a big cheerleader for it. You know, I'm promoting it, but there's nothing I can really do outside of that to help make it better. I mean, it's up to them. That's why I've given them that responsibility and given them ownership.
You know, I had a dozer man one time. He was dozing, and I jumped up on the backhoe, and I said, "Hey, Buck," I said, "Can you do this?" And I stopped for a minute, and I thought, he's been doing this for 30 years. What am I going to tell him? And I just said, "Buck, just do your thing." And I went to the restaurant and ate.
Yeah.
What am I going to tell him?
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, right. I mean, but I think about each business, but what am I going to tell the executive director in Sevierville, Tennessee about how to run that business?
You don't even know what's going on that day.
Exactly.
There may be something that caused that decision or
Yeah.
thinking, you know.
You think Forrest Preston gets involved with 400
You
properties?
think you can't
No.
and scale it. John, you didn't know MC. Yeah, I see where you got the MC Hedrick Award. That's a coveted award for Cleveland. MC Hedrick is known by anyone that knew him. Everybody thought he was wonderful. Mm-hmm. So to get that award is
I was blown
a big
away.
deal.
I was blown away because my wife really pulled it over on me because I never go to that event, and she sold it right. She had me convinced that one of my friends was up for one of the awards, and I didn't. Up to that point, though, I really didn't know much about the man. Since learned a lot more. I was honored to have had it happen. The reason why I was shocked, though, is most of my business interests are not in Cleveland, and most of them are in other states. Or I do have a couple of companies in town, a couple of businesses, but at the time I didn't. I didn't have Riverstone, and Twin Rivers was just starting. So I was kind of surprised, but I'm an entrepreneur, and I guess I've done a few more things since then. So maybe I guess the award was fitting.
If this was baseball, would you be a base hitter or would you be a home run hitter?
Say that one more
If
time.
this was baseball, would you be the guy that gets a run on base?
Oh,
How do you see it?
In terms of my business life?
Yeah, how do you see it? Do you see it as a guy that gets a hit and gets on base and now run us on in?
Yeah, I'm not I think I'm more of a singles and doubles kind of guy, but those singles can eventually turn into triples and home runs. Some of these things that I've done in my life have grown. I never thought they would grow where they've grown, and so.
What do you attribute that to?
longevity for sure. I mean, one example is Coe. He started with nothing, and today, well, it's public record. I mean, we're going to be pushing $100 million in revenue in a year.
I mean, who does that?
I mean, I'm pinching myself thinking,
Yeah.
like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
But, it's just sticking with it. It's kind of like you used to hear about the stock market. If you just leave your money in the stock market in time, well, you look at some of these people and say, how did they get this? Well, they just left it there. They let it ride, and they kept at it. And the same thing with business. If you keep at it and you grow it, work hard at it, can turn into something real. And going back to what my dad said. Well, I get lots of checks that come in from different people and different things that I've done, and got other people working for me, and he was right.
It reminds me of the story of Jack and the Beanstalk. You remember that fairy tale where Jack gave the king the magic beans, but he kept the goose. So the goose was able to keep producing the golden eggs.
Golden eggs, yeah.
So that's what you want, is the goose that produces the golden eggs, and every now and then you got to give away some of the eggs
Yeah.
to keep the goose.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this. In your mind, are you seeing some other stuff besides just, I know you're working through this restaurant thing, and would your next restaurant be called Inman Social? Would it be Location 2, or would it have a whole nother name? I want to see how a person that scales stuff thinks.
Well, I can't disclose really what the next one is at the moment.
I think everybody knows that, but I won't bring it up either.
Maybe they do, but I'll probably just leave it off
We'll
the
leave
air.
it off there.
But I have a vision for, I really have a vision for, I'd like to see, I'm from Texas originally. I like barbecue. I'd like to have a real kind of, a real casual, but call it kind of a combination of, there's no breweries, for instance, in town. There's 13 breweries in Chattanooga, 350,000 people. There's 50,000 people in Cleveland. There's no breweries. We can support a brewery. Well, if you can support a brewery, what goes with a brewery? Well, I can see it being a sports bar or a combination with that barbecue.
Pizza, maybe?
Not so much pizza, no. But what I'd like to see is a way that you could have an outdoor area where the parents can enjoy themselves, yet the kids can go outside and be kids and just have fun. Kind of like, have you ever been to a Lulu's, Jimmy Buffett's sister's place?
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
kind
I
of,
have.
just kind of outdoor. Anyways, you need a lot of property and a big building to do that, but kind of a sports bar brewery is one thing I've envisioned. I've also envisioned kind of a casual, like a seafood bistro, something simple that gets fresh seafood in regularly, and just does it a little bit different way. I know we've had something like that in the past, but I think there's another concept that I envision. That there's one of my favorite restaurants is in Destin, where we have a second home, and I'd love to have that concept and try to recreate something similar to that here, which we don't really have an outstanding, good, simple seafood bistro and wine bar, kind of a combination.
So would this be owned by the same group, or would it be another thing? Is this another thing? It just happens to be with food?
I think if Wesley and Bobby and I are successful in Inman Social and the other venue, I see no reason why we wouldn't continue that relationship in another venture.
But I mean, it would be named something different?
Oh, completely different. Yeah, absolutely. Different part of town, surely too. Just to kind of more. I mean, foot traffic north end of town makes more sense than having them all in the downtown area. For me.
So you're thinking this restaurant stuff is Cleveland area?
Yeah, I'm not going to go anywhere else. I'm
With
not.
that.
I mean, if Wesley kind of asked me, "Go, John, what happens if Inman Social is super successful? Would you want to take it to Chattanooga?" I said, "No, that's too much work." I don't really want to. I want to do whatever much time I'm going to continue on doing what I'm doing. I want to keep it all local. I don't restaurant wise, healthcare wise. No, that's different. I'll continue to grow my business there outside of this area because I don't really have any other opportunities in the area. So.
People that think real broad like you do, I always like to ask them, what do they think is the next big technological breakthrough is, in the world? Is it going to be more in science or more in biology or what's?
That's above my pay grade. I can't think that way. I don't really know. I mean, what the next greatest thing is. I've made investments in various medical startup companies that hopefully will be game changing. But
Did you read up on it and you thought about it and you thought, boy, it makes sense?
I did. I looked at who was behind it and what they had done, and those kind of things are real risky. But if they work out, I mean, anything in science, that gets people healthier, better, and live longer. I mean, what's that worth? So I can see that part of it, investing in things like that. But again, I'm relying on people that I would believe in.
You seem to invest in stuff that the people have a track record to run it.
Yeah. So my wife, Margaret, has said on a couple of occasions on some of these businesses, you don't know anything about that business. What are you doing that for? And I said, I know I don't, but I believe in this person. And, she would be pretty reluctant on any of these startups, things that I've not had any real prior experience. It was pretty funny when it came down to the restaurants, because we all know how risky restaurants are. I said, well, I have this idea that I think I can take Truett BHB and make it something different. Something like Mimo's or Fat Clemens's, which is restaurants down in Destin. And I said, I think I want to make a go of it. And I thought for sure she'd be like, you don't know anything about restaurants, and what are you doing? And she's like, I like that idea. So I kind of kid. I said, so it's taken 4 or 5 other businesses that I've been successful in
To believe
me that maybe I can do it. So, and she's been a big supporter of me all along.
Where'd you meet her?
College. She was.
You remember the first time you saw her?
Can't the exact day or afternoon or even, no, I can't. But she was a little sister to the fraternity that I belonged to, and so I met her. I'm sure that either one of the fraternity parties or social events. But
So it just evolved, the relationship.
well, we were just really good friends. It turned out it was pretty funny. When she was a year younger than I, and we went to Southern Methodist University in Dallas, and a lady, classmate, lived 2 houses away from me, and I went to high school with her. And so when Margaret was going through a sorority rush, I guess, and said, well, there's 2 guys you really need to meet. They're nice guys. They're from my high school. One was Jack Schubert, one was me. And that conversation was taking place in her freshman year, but she didn't actually meet me, I think, till her sophomore year. I was dating somebody else at the time, and we just were friends. And so at the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, we'd go back to Houston. She lived 5 miles apart. We'd get together, go around the town with a bunch of people just as friends.
Yeah.
And then I graduated college, and after I graduated college, I decided to ask her out. I wasn't dating anybody, but we had been friends for at least 2 and 2.5 years at that time. And then we dated a few more years and got married.
So you fell in love later, basically.
Probably. I guess I was in love with somebody else, or at least had a relationship with somebody else prior to that.
Well, rumor is that you walk every morning?
That is a rumor because I don't. I walk some. I mean, I'm pretty inconsistent. 2-3 times a week probably.
That's pretty consistent.
Well, I should walk every day, but I
What's
don't.
what makes it inconvenient on those other 2 days, 3 days?
There should be no excuse, but I find a way sometimes just to make an excuse. I used to play racquetball 5 and 6 days a week for 25 years.
We're at down there at
Well, I did Fitness Factory in the Y, and I blew out my Achilles about 6 years ago, and ever since then, I've been pretty inconsistent about working out. Had some foot problems, plantar fasciitis, and that sort of thing. Had surgery for that. And I just had knee surgery in February, so that's no excuse. I should be walking every day, but I don't.
Do you think walking is as good regularly is as good as playing racquetball twice a week?
Not cardio, no. That cardio on the racquetball kept my weight down a little bit and hard on my knees, that's for sure. Part of the reason probably why I have had knee problems. I played racquetball for 40 years. I started when I was a teenager. So, and I jogged some. I used to jog too, but walking doesn't give me cardio, but it gives me a little bit of exercise.
A little heavy breathing though when you're walking quite a bit, right?
Yeah, if you walk at a good pace, I need to pick that up too. Mm-hmm. Getting too sedimentary I guess I've truly become a granddad, So.
When you went to the Y, did you work out there or just racquetball?
Mostly just was racquetball. I wasn't really lifting weights. I did lift weights for a couple of years, a couple times a week. Then I dropped that. I shouldn't. I need to pick it back up. But I'm still active. When I golf, I walk. I try to walk wherever we can. So if I'm in Cleveland, I generally walk. So that's a good exercise for me. And you're getting 4 or 5 miles up and down the hills. And if you're spraying the ball around, you might be walking 6 or 7 miles.
Yeah. What would you say is your normal schedule for a day, a regular work day? Are you routine or are you not routine?
Not at all. Not at all. It's, like right now, I'm not that busy because a lot of the projects that I've been working on, I've got to the point where they're taking care of themselves. And so, to get into another new investment opportunity or a restaurant, once that gets closer to happening, I'll spend more time on it. But I don't really have a super routine. I mean, I do certain things I have to do periodically, quarterly, time of the month, looking at financials. But I do not have a routine.
You don't wake up at a certain time and.
I get up way too early every morning, and I start thinking about things. And I've been getting up earlier and earlier. It seems like I need less and less sleep. I'm generally asleep by 10:30, and I'm always awake by 4. I'll go back to sleep.
Golly!
I'll go back to sleep, but
will you wait for like 30 minutes or what?
it depends. I might fall asleep back in 5 minutes, or I might take a half an hour.
Does your mind race?
Unfortunately, I start thinking about things. If I think about things I've forgotten, then I'll get up and have to write it down sometimes. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, I'm up, for sure by 6 o'clock, 6:15, almost every morning.
That's still early for a guy that doesn't have to be somewhere.
Well, my routine in the morning is I read the paper and, I check my emails.
Chattanooga Times?
Mm-hmm, I just read it online.
But don't you check your emails at night before you go to bed?
I try not to check my emails after I get home from work. I try not to.
At 5-ish?
Or whenever I come home. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I try and leave them alone. But it doesn't always work that way. But generally by the time I wake up, there's somebody has got something going on.
That emailed you yesterday evening?
Right, yeah. Because I
don't you get notifications on your phone that you got emails?
Yeah, but I leave the phone. Try to leave the phone away. Don't pick it up every time. But I also have.
Well, if there's an emergency.
Well, if there's an emergency, it'll ring. I mean, I'll hear it. I don't have the ringer off.
Oh, okay.
But like the main attorney that I use is in Nashville, and he works all sorts of hours. So probably a day doesn't go by that I don't hear from him on something. And so,
Well, those attorneys are expensive, aren't they? God.
yeah, they can be. But, so anyway, there's generally some people are just, late to respond. I mean, a lot of, I do with a lot of construction projects. I mean, I started 5 construction projects during COVID. Most all of those have finished now, but, a lot of the guys, the guy that owns the construction company, for me, he's an after 5 o'clock kind of respond to emails because he's out in the field all day or he's doing his thing, and he catches up at night. So.
And then you catch them in the morning.
I catch him in the morning. Yeah, before he gets, I get to him before he leaves. So it works out really good, actually.
Yeah.
So
And if you don't, if it's an email, it's usually not that important.
Right.
Important, is it? I mean, it usually has a little time thing.
yeah,
So you go to the office every day?
nope, not most every day, but not every day. I mean, this time of year, to be honest, I love to stay at home. If it's cold, I'll start a fire and just work from my house because I don't unless I have a meeting, which I don't have meetings every day, but. It just depends where I'm in the middle of that particular deal is what dictates my meeting schedule. We've got a project up in Maryville right now that we need to add on a new laundry facility. So we're gonna get my Clint and my son, and we'll go up to Maryville for the day. We got a major renovation going on in Sweetwater right now, and on the way back we'll hit Sweetwater. So. Got different projects in different towns that, just whatever, I go check on them at least once a month. So go to Dalton once a month, go to Kingsdown every day, just seeing what's going on over there. So
Everything's going good, isn't it?
I don't know if it's all going good. I've got enough. I got a lot of things in the fire.
It doesn't make you nervous?
No. Not at all. I mean, yeah, I do have a fair amount of residential exposure right now, but I'm in it for the long run. If it takes longer to sell the lots, it takes longer to sell the lots.
Yeah, that won't be too bad. Where's your lots at?
Right next to Remember Me, right there.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
There, I've got
54
17 townhome lots and 26 residential lots. I've already sold 12 of the 17 townhome lots and 4 of the single-family lots, 3 houses under construction. They got the other five townhomes are under contract. The same contractor from Chattanooga, so he'll close on them. So, yeah,
That shouldn't be no problem.
yeah, he's got 2 triplexes going up right now, and they're not mine, they're his. I mean, he bought the land from me, but he's got his first 2 under contract. One of them, I think, is going to set a record for townhome price per foot. He's got a base model that's at one price, and then they took all the extra goodies, and it's over $300 a foot for a townhome.
Can you believe that? I remember years ago I was at used to be the Cherokee Restaurant, which is what we call now the old. Well, it was. I guess it's where the old fort was. I remember them saying Larry Hall had $56 a square foot in a house, and half the table. I go to the liar's table in the morning. Half the table thought that was a lie, and the other half thought it was true, and that was $56.
Yeah.
And just a year and a half ago, it was 140 was, you could make it. Maybe a year and a half ago.
When I built Cadence Court, the ones on North Lee Highway, Tom Cape subdivision, those that face those are the nice big ones. When I told one prominent real estate investor in town that when he asked me how much I was asking per foot, and I told him $150 to $155 a foot, he told me that good luck, and the bank would probably be taking them back because there's no way that they'll sell for that kind of money in Cleveland, Tennessee. Well, those same units, I know they've already resold for over $200 a foot. You
I
know?
did those at Frontage Village. I sold them for 149, 142, 139, and they're bringing 249 now.
Yeah. I mean,
And used.
well, I mean, prices have just gone up. That's not really what I want.
And prices have gone up because prices have gone up.
Yeah.
It's not that there's a larger spread. There may be a lesser
That's
spread.
probably a lesser spread, to be honest.
So, what do? You
Yeah.
buy it, rent it for 2 years, and then sell it with no warranty.
I'm not doing that. I don't want to be in. I don't want to be in the custom home building business.
I don't
Our
either.
spec. It's just anyway.
What about the rental business?
What kind of?
The residential rentals?
I've never done that here in this town. I mean, I know a lot of people that do it. If they've had their property for a number of years, they're doing great, considering how rents have gone up. But I'm not attuned to what's going on there.
If you were 20 years old, what would you focus on?
Well, I'd probably like to get a college education, although you don't necessarily have to have a college education to be successful.
What would you get it in?
Same thing, accounting and finance, just because it gets the basics.
Then what would you do?
Knowing that I'd want to be an entrepreneur, I would probably do the similar path that I did. In that sense, got work experience to the point where you can go out and do your own thing, unless you have money.
In what field?
I don't know. Well,
I mean, you're 20 years old and you've got to decide.
yeah.
What
I think you need to get a basic, solid education that give you the tools to do whatever you want to go into, whether it's real estate or run a restaurant or IT. I mean, I don't know what your passion is. I mean,
what would be the basic tools? You mean if you're? I just don't know what the young people would do right now. I don't know which, unless they were going into medical, I don't know what they would do.
well,
I mean,
you need people with financial skills. I mean, I'm assuming that you've been a builder all your life, and so most builders don't have a pot of money that they start with. They start from the bottom and they have to work their way up. It's no different than on the accounting side, financial side. Get your education, get experience, and from there you can see what doors are open. Because short of, I attempted to be an entrepreneur at the wrong time. Back when I was very young with very, very small children. My wife had decent income and I wanted to go into real estate development, but I got caught in the 1985 crash. And while she had a job and made some money, real estate sales plummeted. And I soon realized that I was undercapitalized and I starved. And that's why I say most people don't start off with a bunch of money. I didn't have a bunch of money, but what I didn't have was enough to sustain a long drought. And that's why I tell people all the time, if they ever want to start into a new business, you better be well capitalized or have a partner who can back you. And
was that period in '85? Was that a real education for you? I mean, did it really help you even today?
I've told the story 100 times, and I've probably told it my kids several times. When I went to work for myself and things went south, I got pretty big in debt at the time. Here's 1987. I just had my second child, and I have $110,000 of unsecured debt. Not even making half that a year, salary-wise, and it was a hard lesson for me. I worked for a collection agency after my regular job. On the weekends, I managed a 400-unit apartment complex, and I'd already gotten out of public accounting, and I was doing tax returns on the side for all my friends that needed help, because my two largest creditors were my father and my father-in-law, and there was no way in hell I was going to stiff either of them.
No way.
And I paid them both back.
Was there no way?
There's no way.
No way in hell.
Hell no. That's why I worked 4 jobs. I mean, and my dad and my father, it was my dad. He charged me interest, and my father-in-law, it was his bank. And I wasn't stiffing either of them. And it took me 4.5 years to get caught up, but I finally did.
What age was you then?
When I peaked, when I was so underwater, I was 29 years old. I'm about 33, 34, where I was kind of back on had all that paid off. It took a while. But it was a good lesson.
I've been there, and my good friend John Paul Douglas, I was going through it when he was a lot of people know him. He was more famous than MC Hedrick, but he told me something one time. He said, "Dee," he said, "this period of your life will make you more money than you can ever work for." And I didn't know what he was talking about, but it was just the lesson of not getting overextended.
Yeah.
And you can work, and you can come out, and you can maneuver, and you can be creative. And do you agree with that?
Yeah. You know, when you're young, you've got plenty of time to recoup and gain it back. But what it did tell me was that if you're 55 and that happens, you only have so much time left to turn it around.
And you almost don't have the gumption.
Well, I certainly wouldn't. If I had to start over at 55, well, what it did for me was this. It forced me to be an incredible saver. And so, you know, I was motivated to get my house paid off early and all my cars, all my kids' college education. I was just adamant about that, and I did. But it was I know what tough times were like back then. Like I said, 2 kids under the age of 3 and way under debt, and
You'd already gotten out of college.
yeah.
I mean, that was it. This is what you'd become, right?
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that was tough, wasn't it?
But we made it. I mean, I've always worked hard. I just kept, chipping away and got it done. And realized that, if I'm going to do it again. And so in 2008, when I decided to go back to work for myself again, I had saved some money. And I was in a better position to take that chance. I left a very, very, very good job. I was an officer of a publicly traded company in 2008, and I left that to start completely on my own. And as it turned out, it was the right.
You were
thing.
50, 51.
49.
49.
Yep.
That was a leap of faith, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I had made some investments that were at least producing me some income to live off of. Now, I was definitely making a whole lot less than I was.
Do you think that during the 85 period it made you more, if you could put a word, would you say it made you more calculated? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I had to think everything, especially when you have 2 little kids to worry about. It made me think hard about a lot of things. Yeah. But it was a good lesson in life. I mean, I'm glad it happened when I was young.
Well, I'll say one thing. You have been absolutely, I don't know if you realize it, but your name is known all over Cleveland. Never, not one negative word, not one rumor, nothing. You've been a success, and Cleveland is certainly glad to have you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.